San Francisco, the most fascinating large city in the USA. A journey in a cable car is an absolute must for every visitor. Since 1873, the strange carriages have rumbled along over the hills of the city, pulled by an underground cable, and have long been a major attraction. At the end of the line, the wagons are turned around. Nowadays, only 3 lines are in use, and 37 of the 6-ton wagons remain in service. The technology has remained unchanged to the present. Beneath the middle track runs a constantly moving cable. Holding up to 90 passengers, the cable car is driven on the 2 outer tracks. The grip man pulls back a handle and a tongue-like gadget grips hold of the cable which pulls the train. In the meantime, the conductor collects the fares. But both must slam hard on the brakes when it goes downhill. The central workstation is also attached to a garage, workshop and museum. Here, the huge swing wheels, cables and spanning devices are on view. When the cable cars speed towards Hyde Street, from the last hill down to the bottom, there is a stunning view over the bay, which includes the Maritime Museum and prison island of Alcatraz. The noisy journey passes by well-maintained Victorian wooden houses. Lombard Street should only be driven downhill. It is regarded as the most crooked street in the world and is typical of San Francisco. Slowly, cars make their way down the flower-lined brick road. From Pier 43, boat tours around the bay start with the red-white fleet. The journey passes Fisherman's Wharf and the large ships of the maritime museums, and then past the fast-emerging skyline of the city, with the clearly defined emblem of the Transamerica Pyramid. Past the former prisoners' island of Alcatraz, also called the Rock, we get closer to the Golden Gate Bridge. Just under the bridge, we turn around and go back to the harbour. Only with the blue and gold fleet can one reach the prison island of Alcatraz. The Rock Island, in the icy waters of the bay, once housed the most secure prison in the USA. In 1963, for financial reasons, the prison ceased to exist and is now subject to a preservation order. The Spanish called the Rock Island Isla de los Alcatrazes, Island of the Pelicans, because it housed thousands of these birds. It was the Americans who built a fort here, which was later converted into a military prison. Everything, including drinking water, had to be brought in by boat. The ice-cold water, strong currents, machine gun towers, and electronic security system assured total isolation of the prisoners. Where once legendary criminals such as Machine Gun Kelly, Al Scarface Capone, and Robert The Birdman Stroud served their sentences in the largest concrete building, nowadays masses of tourists move through barred corridors and across fenced yards. The cells of the high security block are a must-see, accompanied by a certain tingling of the spine. The subject of many films and books, Alcatraz became a symbol of America's darker side. The first stone building still stands today, Mission Dolores. The 1776 missionary station was San Francisco's birthplace. Led by the Franciscan Padres, the Christianized Indians built a church, and, in the bordering cemetery, many of the former settlers were laid to rest. For the Indians, however, there were no gravestones. The colorful wall paintings were called murales and illuminate many facades and walls. Not only political messages are portrayed by these southern means of expression, they also illustrate the traditional lifestyle of Latin America. The financial district is also known as the Wall Street of the West. Here are the skyscrapers and modern office blocks which give San Francisco its famous skyline. Whether the Bank of America, the HQ of Wells Fargo, or the Embarcadero Center, this modern city has a hectic business life. The 1970s modern art is represented by a fountain of concrete blocks, or a huge lily between the multi-story buildings. The Transamerica Pyramid has become the city's most famous landmark. Earthquake-proof, built on hydraulic spring foundations, the 260-meter-high pyramid structure is in the heart of the financial district. A 65-meter-high tower spire, covered in shiny aluminium sheets, crowns the 84-story-high headquarters of the Transamerica Corporation. Exactly the same as the Egyptian pyramids and Mayas, they too were a symbol of an era. The Civic Center forms the political and cultural center of the city. The Opera House was also rebuilt after the Great Earthquake of 1906. French Renaissance was the model for the City Hall, already the fifth in the city. A large dome represents a culmination of global power. A stay in San Francisco without a visit to Chinatown is unthinkable. This exotic world so far from mainland China, is the largest Chinese settlement outside Asia. Daifao, the big city, is what they call this area, situated between three hills. Pagoda roofs, colourful flags and decorated balconies. Shop signs with Chinese characters. Restaurants and shops. Everything appears as authentic Chinese. Visitors to this district can see, smell and hear China. A celebration for all the senses. The Painted Ladies, charming Victorian wooden houses on the fringe of Alamo Square. Or the Haas Lilienthal House, a well-maintained jewel of a long-forgotten era. These are the most well-known of the 14,000 remaining turn-of-the-century works of art. The White City on 7 hills at the Golden Gate. Dreamlike, it is located on a peninsula surrounded by water. To the west, the open Pacific, and to the east, the bay. In 1847, Little Yerba Buena was renamed San Francisco. After the big earthquake, in 1915, San Francisco celebrated the rebuilding of the city with a superlative exhibition, the Panama Pacific Exhibition. Beneath numerous exhibition buildings, a complex also developed in the style of a Roman palace. Of this monumental palace of fine arts, only a jungle of pillars remains. On 17th September 1776, the Spaniard Juan Bautista de Anza founded the Presidio as the first military fortification of the bay, unaware that here a military history spanning 200 years would be written. Only in 1974 were civilians able to enter the premises, and in 1994 this vast area was opened as a national park. In the famous military cemetery lie soldiers killed in action since 1852, as it is in military rules, neat and lined up in formation. It is a great honor to be buried here, and the military cemetery is the only one in the city in which burials are still taking place. With a length of nearly 5 kilometers and a width of 600 meters, Golden Gate Park is one of the largest city parks in the world. And nowhere a sign saying, "Keep off the grass." Difficult to imagine that this area was originally made up of dry sand dunes. But with his horticultural skills, Park Chief John McLaren masterfully completed a garden work of art. In the Japanese tea garden, the landscape is based on the image of Kyoto. In those days, everything was imported from Japan and created with great care by Japanese experts. The peninsula's rocky western coastline shows off the thundering waves and vast expanse of ocean to great effect. The Museum Palace in Lincoln Park is magnificently situated and offers a breathtaking view of the Pacific and the Golden Gate. This is where the largest collection of European art can be found outside the Old World. The Golden Gate Bridge is San Francisco's orange-red landmark. Majestically, its cable construction spans over the entrance to the bay. Like a gate to one of the largest and most secure natural harbors in the world. On the 28th of May 1937, the bridge was opened to traffic after 20 years of preparation and 4 years of hard work. More than 1,000 million vehicles have subsequently passed across the famous curved red gate. A walk in fresh air at high altitude is a special experience. This gracious work of the engineer's art counts as one of the most beautiful bridges in the world. No matter if sun or snow, whether light or dark, this bridge always portrays elegance and bold energy. Construction was not made easy by 97-meter deep water and strong currents. And when both bridge piers were being erected, daring workmen balanced on scaffolding to assemble the cable. The Golden Gate Bridge, spanning 2,730 meters, is one of the longest suspension bridges in the world. Each cable has a diameter of almost a meter. Originally, architect Richard Strauss was thought of as crazy when he enthused about the Golden Gate, but his plans were realized. The dream of bridge-building architecture became reality. The smell of salty air and fish greet visitors to Fisherman's Wharf. Seagull cries fill the air. If it weren't for the many people, shops and tourist buses, one could easily imagine being back in the old days, when Italian settlers set up a fishery port here. Fishermen offering their fresh catch in the open air, and small picturesque restaurants carefully prepare seafood. The marina doesn't have much room for too many yachts. Immediately next to it is Pier 39, which looks older than it is. This pier was built from weathered wood at the former jetty. More than 100 shops, restaurants and business attractions annually welcome 10 million visitors. In the courtyards, musicians, jugglers and magicians entertain. But the main attraction at Pier 39 is a herd of hundreds of male seals, which are generously fed fish by visitors, and who appear manifestly happy at being looked after so well. At the other end of Fisherman's Wharf is the Maritime Museum, within the grounds of Hyde Street Piers. Here, the history of West Coast shipping is explained with superb exhibits. Historic ships, furnished cabins and restored workshops. The Hercules was built in New Jersey in 1907. And brought across over the Magellan Strait. The large triple-mast Balclutha, which was launched in 1826 in Scotland, is one of hundreds of sailing ships built in Europe. The memories of bygone times come alive. Whether it's a walk on deck, viewing the equipment, or the cabins, visitors can experience at close hand the romance of seafaring. San Francisco must be the most fascinating and unique large city, with enormous cosmopolitan flair. It's a feeling, a condition. The Pearl at the Golden Gate is a little bit of Italy, France, England, Mexico, and a lot of California. A colourful, constantly changing mix. San Francisco is easily understood. One interesting area follows after another. The people are tolerant and live in harmony with one another. It is difficult to believe that this city is under constant threat of devastation by earthquake. Nobody knows when and if the big one will strike, but the anticipated quake could leave the city in a heap of rubble. A dance on a volcano. Maybe that's why the city continues to radiate a good ambience, and the kind of life known as the California feeling, which has become legendary. The adventure writer Rudyard Kipling was convinced the city had only one shortfall. one can only remain detached from it with difficulty.